becomes a private matter, needs public support. Vote yes. Good evening, everybody. It is a beautiful Tuesday afternoon, and we're just after the bank holiday weekend. The subject of today's video blog is something which is, I suppose, quite sensitive to a lot of people, and that is the upcoming referendum on the 25th of May, which is to whether to legalise abortion or not in the Republic of Ireland. For those of you who don't know, or those of you who are living abroad and are unawares, at this moment in time in Ireland it is illegal to have an abortion here. Having been caught with abortion pills in this country carries a prison sentence. So what a lot of people, and when I say a lot of people I mean about 3 or 4 women a day, head to the UK to have abortions, which is it's a lot of people really when you think about it. There's an awful lot of people whose lives are being turned upside down by having to have an abortion. There's a huge amount of misinformation out there as well, particularly, well, nearly all, in fact, from the no side, as far as I can see. I'll show you some of their posters if I come across any of them, but one of them in particular says repealing the 8th Amendment, which guarantees the safety or life of an the protection of life of an unborn child. Says that if we repeal this amendment, that we're allowing abortion up to 6 months of pregnancy, which is just not true. The legislation being proposed is for 12 weeks or 3 months, so abortion up to 12 weeks. So I don't know where they got that information about the 6 months thing, but there seems to be an awful lot of that kind of stuff being posted on social media, etc., etc. All the major political parties, bar Fianna Fáil, have said that they will use the whip to vote yes in repealing the 8th Amendment. Fianna Fáil have been told they can have a free vote. Their TDs have been told they can have a free vote. So there's about half of them have indicated that they intend to vote no. So I intend to vote yes in repealing the 8th Amendment, and there are a number of reasons why I intend to do so. The big reason is you know, it's a woman's body. You know, it's the woman should have the right to decide whether she wants to continue the pregnancy or not, especially if it's in such an early stage. Even though the legislation will allow for abortion up to 12 weeks, I would imagine most women who do not want to have children and find themselves pregnant will have an abortion at 4 weeks. As soon as they discover they're pregnant, they will have an abortion. And I mean, at 4 weeks, we're talking about cells here. There's no life there. You know, we're talking about something the size of, you know, a pea, really, or just bigger. That's kind of the level we're at here. Yes, obviously there will be people who will have abortions kind of late at the 12 weeks. You know, maybe there's soul searching going on there, or I don't know. But even at that, there's the child is not alive. They don't yawn. Like, that's more misinformation that's been spread by the No campaign. You know, a fetus in the womb doesn't yawn. It's surrounded by embryonic fluid. You can't yawn in fluid. Yawn is an inhalation of gas, or air, or atmosphere, or whatever you want to call it. Do I think it's, you know, it's abortion on demand? No, it's not. There's a 72-hour waiting period, in which case a woman will receive counselling prior to having the abortion. And I think that's very important that is noted, okay? Because it is not abortion on demand. Abortion on demand is going into a clinic saying, I would like to have an abortion, and then leaving the clinic having had an abortion. Here you will need to go to a clinic, say I want an abortion. You'll then need to wait 3 days or 72 hours before you can have the abortion, to give you time to think, because it is a huge decision, not something to be taken lightly. I think a lot of the No campaign believe that this is something women will use as birth control, I suppose, or instead of having to take the pill, or having to use condoms, etc., etc., or other types of contraceptives. But that's just not the case, and we can't be NIMBY about this. For anyone who doesn't know what that means, it's not in my backyard. Okay, if they can go to the UK to have it, I mean, we may as well allow our women to have it here. We can't stop them. Okay, there are women that have died because they weren't able to have abortions in this country. Okay, there hasn't been a good couple of months for women in Ireland at the moment, between the rape trial, how that woman was treated in the rape trial in Northern Ireland, the cervical cancer scandal that's going on at the moment, and the amount of women affected by it, and then the 8th Amendment issues, or the 8th Amendment referendum, which is coming up. Which brings us on to the next thing. I mean, at the moment, if you have a fatal fetal abnormality at the moment, you cannot have an abortion. I mean, they will insist you carry that child regardless of whether it is going to live or die to term, or unless you naturally miscarriage. And that is just, it is outrageous. It is absolutely outrageous that they would expect a woman to carry a fetus which is going to die or has a serious problem to term. It's just so ridiculous. It's not even I can't believe we're in a position in this country where that's actually the state of play at the moment. It's just so, for 2018, it's just outrageous. There's one of the things by the No campaign. In England, 1 in 5 babies are aborted. Yeah, that statistic is true. Okay, I mean, you can look at that statistic on any of the .co.gov websites. That is a true statistic. 1 in 5 are aborted over there. But I mean, what that doesn't tell you is, 1 in 5 might have had some sort of genetic condition. They might have had a fatal fetal abnormality, or they might have had some sort of problem which would have reduced either the life expectancy of the child or the quality of life of the child had it been born. The reality here is, and it's a nasty thing to say, but everybody's thinking it, okay, is that nobody wants a sick kid. Nobody. I have a kid. I do not want a sick kid. Nobody, regardless of what is wrong with the child, nobody wants a sick kid. Everybody wants a kid that's just perfectly healthy and normal. If you could even, determine what normal is. The other thing is, there's other issues as well. There are people out there who will have used contraception and have accidentally got pregnant. They didn't mean to get pregnant, They could have been on the pill or using condoms or on the coil. There's always a chance. There is always a chance that could happen. And it's not fair to make a couple or even a woman, it could have been a one-night stand. It's not fair to make that woman have the child if she's not ready to have it. You're effectively saying is, I am not in a position to raise this child. I'm not able to do it. It's effective family planning. I know it's not nice, but it's better than forcing a woman to raise a child that she's not able to raise. Now, there's the financial costs and implications that go along with that. Now we could potentially have another single mother, who needs a house off the state. Now everybody has to pay more tax. There's also other issues as well. There's not just one case. I mean, what if a woman is raped and she becomes pregnant? I mean, I know there are women that have been raped and have decided to have the child, but I would argue that there are far more that have been raped that have had an abortion. A woman should have the choice. If she wants to keep the child, fine. If she doesn't want to keep the child, fine. Or the child, it's not even a child. I don't know why I keep calling it a child. It's a fetus. It's not even alive. You know, and another thing to think about as well is we were all kids at one point. I mean, I did some pretty stupid stuff when I was a teenager. You know? There's plenty of teenage pregnancies that happen in this country. And those girls have to go over to the UK to have an abortion because, yeah, they did something stupid. Absolutely. They had unprotected sex. Thinking, it'll never happen to me. Of course, it did happen. And they'd have to have an abortion now. You cannot expect a girl who has her whole life ahead of her, you know, a 15 or 16 year old girl who has her whole life ahead of her, to have a kid if she doesn't want to have it. And I think every father in the country needs to, you know, think about that when the election comes when the referendum comes on the 25th of May. You know, this, and when I say what I said about the fathers there was because this is not just a woman's issue. This is an issue for society. You know, it's a huge decision. We had this election, I think, about 15, or I keep saying election. We had this referendum about 15 years ago, and the No campaign won. Despite huge support from the Yes, because it was kind of seen as a woman's issue at the time. The No people are exceptionally passionate. Everybody who thinks that the 8th Amendment should be retained will vote on the 25th. Every single person will. Whereas the Yes campaign, it'll be very much kind of a vote, but, you know, I might not be able to get there, or, you know, it'll pass because there's so much support for it now, and, you know, the usual, somebody else will do it. But that's not the case. Every single person needs to go out and vote on the 25th if they intend to repeal the 8th Amendment. As I said, it's not just a woman's issue. This is an issue for society. And the last thing, or one of the last things I want to talk about is, you know, the people who are campaigning for no, in particular the church. Okay, there's no secret that the Catholic Church is opposed to repealing the 8th Amendment. And the fact that a religious organisation such as the Catholic Church gets involved in something like this, it actually turns my stomach. For those of you who are watching this from abroad, or, you know, aren't well up on Irish history or politics, it hasn't been a good 15 years for the Catholic Church in this country. It hasn't been a good 15 years at all. In fact, it's been a very bad 15 years. Okay, there's been all sorts of problems, okay, regarding paedophilia, the Magdalene laundries, the Tune babies. You know, I think it's just, for those of you that are unaware, basically the Catholic Church in Ireland covered up for known paedophiles. They protected them. They protected many paedophiles in this country, paedophile priests. It was the Tune babies was discovered there only a couple of years ago, and basically what happened was they had these things called Magdalene laundries, where if a woman was pregnant and wasn't married, she was sent to this place to have the child. Her family sent her there. Okay, the local church discovered that, you know, there was an unmarried woman who was pregnant. They'd come round and they'd literally knock on the door and collect her, and there she was forced to effectively, you know, right up until she had the child, to be a slave, working in these laundries for nothing, for free, effectively. And when the child was born, what happened to a lot of the children was they were put up for adoption, which is not what happened. They were sold off to families in the United States of America, and a lot of the children died. Okay, and they buried them they put them in a septic tank and buried them, and never told anybody. You know, when the church knew about this for a long time, they knew it had happened, they told no one. And now they're preaching to us that, you know, we should be looking after, you know, children and looking after women that are pregnant, when they are the people who couldn't have treated pregnant women and children any worse than what they did. And they have the audacity, the absolute neck, to tell people that they should be voting no because we need to love, you know, our women who are pregnant and look after them, when they treat them like absolute dirt. So effectively on the 25th of May you need to ask yourself a question. I think that question is, you know, do you think a woman should go to prison for having an abortion up to 12 weeks? And if the answer is yes, you do, well then I think you need to take a long hard look at yourself. And if you don't, well then you need to go out on the 25th of May and make sure you vote yes. Anyway, that's at the end of today's video. I will catch you on the next one, and as always, please like, subscribe and share if you can. It'd be great if you shared. Thank you and bye bye.